The director of the FBI just walked up to a podium and said something that should terrify every single person with a bank account, a job, or a retirement plan. He didn't mince words. He didn't use diplomatic language. He looked at the cameras and called it one of the largest transfers of wealth in human history. He wasn't talking about a stock market crash. He wasn't talking about a tax bill. He wasn't talking about inflation. He was talking about a theft so massive, so systematic, and so relentless that it makes every bank robbery in history combined look like a rounding error. We are talking about $600 billion per year, every single year. That is not money that is being traded. That is money that is being stolen. It is being siphoned directly from American companies, American innovation, and American workers, and transferred instantly to the factories and servers of China. Right now, as you listen to this, the FBI is opening a new counterintelligence case related to this theft every 12 hours. The red lights are flashing on the dashboard of the U.S. economy. Trillions of dollars in value. The breakthroughs that were supposed to power your future are disappearing into a black hole in the East. But there is a twist to this story that almost nobody is reporting. At the exact same moment that China is stealing $600 billion from the West, the wealthiest people inside China are panicking. They're moving mountains of cash, over $200 billion a year, out of China and straight into the United States. We are witnessing a twin transfer. American innovation is flowing east, while Chinese capital is fleeing west. These two massive currents are colliding to reshape the global economy faster than anyone realizes. This is the story of the Great Siphon. This is the story of how your future is being stolen, copied, and sold back to you at a discount. And this is why the FBI, despite all their power, admits they cannot stop it. To understand the magnitude of this, you have to stop thinking about theft in the traditional sense. When someone steals your car, you know it's gone. But when someone steals your intellectual property, you still have it, but it becomes worthless. The U.S. Trade Representative ran the numbers. Their conclusion? The annual loss to the U.S. economy from Chinese IP theft is up to $600 billion. Let's put that number in perspective. That is more than the GDP of Sweden. It is roughly equivalent to 12% of total U.S. tax revenue. Imagine if every year the entire economic output of a mid-sized nation was simply deleted from the American ledger and pasted into China's. That is what is happening. We aren't talking about bootleg DVDs or fake handbags anymore. That was the old China. The new China is stealing the blueprints for the 21st century. They are taking the formulas for life-saving cancer drugs. They are taking the source code for artificial intelligence. They are taking the designs for hypersonic missiles and quantum computers. They are stealing the seeds of the future harvest. And they are doing it using four specific methods that are so effective, the West has no answer for them. The first method is brute force digital warfare. Cybersecurity firms have uncovered state-sponsored hacking groups that target multinational companies simultaneously. Manufacturing, defense, pharmaceuticals, it didn't matter. If you had data, they wanted it. And here is the terrifying part. They didn't just smash and grab, they moved in. They hacked the networks, installed malware, created backdoors, and then they waited. They sat inside these corporate networks for months, sometimes years, silent, watching, downloading. They stole hundreds of gigabytes of blueprints and proprietary manufacturing processes that took engineers decades to perfect. According to security experts, the average time it takes a company to realize they have been breached is nearly 7 months. Imagine a burglar living in your attic for 7 months, reading your mail and listening to your phone calls before you even notice a floorboard creak. By the time the company realizes what happened, the data is already in Beijing. It's already being distributed to state-owned factories. The damage is done. But hacking is messy. Sometimes China doesn't need to break in. Sometimes American companies open the front door and invite them in. This is method 2, forced technology transfer. Here's the deal China offers to CEOs. You want access to our 1.4 billion customers? Great, you can sell here, but you have to partner with a local Chinese company, a joint venture. It sounds like a business deal. It's actually a trap. To form this joint venture, the Western company is often required to hand over their technology. They have to transfer the blueprints. They have to train Chinese engineers on how to build the product. The CEO looks at the quarterly earnings and says, we have to do it for the market share. So they hand over the keys to the kingdom. Fast forward 5 years. The Chinese partner has learned everything. So what do? They launch a competitor. They build the exact same product in the same city. Without the R&D costs, they undercut the original company by 30%. The Western company gets pushed out of the market, and China now owns the industry. Then there is method 3, economic espionage. This is old school spycraft. Why hack a firewall when you can just hire an employee to walk out the door with a hard drive? The FBI has documented hundreds of cases of insiders. These are researchers or engineers working at top companies. They download the source code. They copy the chemical formulas. They book a one-way ticket to Shanghai. The FBI catches some of them. We see the headlines. But for everyone they catch, How many get through? China has state-sponsored programs designed specifically to recruit experts from Western universities and companies, offering massive salaries and prestige to anyone willing to bring their knowledge back to the motherland. Method 4 is perhaps the most frustrating because it happens on the taxpayer's dime: academic theft. Every year, the US government spends billions funding research at universities. This is where the bleeding edge of science happens. Intelligence agencies have confirmed that some researchers are sent with specific shopping lists. They join the lab, they get access to pre-published data, and they send it home. There are cases where research funded by the Department of Defense, technology meant to protect soldiers, ends up patented in China before it even sees the light of day in the US. We are essentially paying for their R&D budget, so why should you care? Why does it matter if a big pharmaceutical company loses a patent? Because you pay for it. When a manufacturing process is stolen and an American factory is undercut, that factory closes. Those jobs disappear. That is the story of the hollowed out middle class. When a drug formula that cost $2 billion to develop is stolen, the company has to raise prices on other drugs to survive. You pay higher healthcare premiums. Innovation is the engine of the economy. It is the only thing keeping the standard of living high. If you break the incentive to innovate, if you tell inventors that anything they create will be stolen immediately, they stop inventing. Progress slows down, the economy stagnates. But now we have to talk about the other side of the ledger, because this is where the story gets truly wild. While the Chinese state is stealing everything that isn't nailed down, the Chinese people, the ones who have actually made money, are trying to get their cash out. Billions of dollars per year are fleeing China. Why? Because if you are rich in China, you are a target. Wealthy citizens know that their money isn't safe in a system where the government can seize it on a whim. So where do they go? They come to the one place that still respects property rights, the United States. They buy real estate in New York and California. They buy treasury bonds. They invest in startups. It is a bizarre circular economy. China steals IP to build their economy. The people who get rich off that economy then take the profits and send them back to America for safekeeping. It creates a strange dependency. We are locked in a fatal embrace. So why doesn't the FBI just stop it? They are trying. But it is a math problem, and the math is bad. The director admits they are outnumbered. For every one FBI cyber agent, there are dozens of Chinese state hackers. The hackers have unlimited budgets, state protection, and zero legal constraints. If they get caught, they are heroes at home. The FBI agents have limited budgets, strict warrants, and red tape. It is a game of whack-a-mole. The FBI opens a case, they identify a breach, they warn the company. By the time the paperwork is filed, the hackers have already changed their IP addresses and moved on to the next target. We cannot arrest our way out of this. We cannot prosecute people who never set foot on US soil, so what happens next? This isn't slowing down, it is accelerating. As AI tools make hacking cheaper and faster, the volume of attacks will increase. As China's economy struggles under its own debt issues, their need to steal technology to stay competitive will become more desperate. We are seeing a hardening of the lines. Export controls on semiconductors, bans on technology transfers, the great decoupling. But for you, the message is clear. The era of easy global cooperation is dead. We are in a resource war, but the resources aren't oil and gold. The resources are data, code, and intellectual property. If you work in tech, if you work in research, if you work in manufacturing, you are on the front lines. Your ideas are the target. And for the investors, understand the macro picture. The economy is being drained of IP, but flooded with capital. That creates a confusing, inflationary, high asset price environment, even as the real economy struggles. We are living through the largest wealth transfer in history. $600 billion flowing east, $200 billion flowing west. The winner of this tug-of-war will define the next century, and right now, the rope is snapping. I'm going to keep tracking the specific industries being targeted because this changes daily, but for now, understand this. The theft is real. The scale is impossible, and the check is coming due. Make sure you are subscribed. The economic war is just beginning.